Hey guys, what's going on? Andrew coming at you, and this one I thought I'd talk about the Swedish election. Now, the Swedish election just happened, and Sweden just moved closer to the far right, so I'm going to explain it for anyone that's new that doesn't know how the election works. I'm also going to give my analysis because I think what's happening here is so similar to what happened in the United States about 4 years ago, and I think Sweden's on that same path right now. So, in Sweden, you got many parties you can choose from, but in this election, it really only felt like you had two choices because you have a conservative bloc and you have a liberal bloc. Now, let me just say the conservatives in Sweden, like when I use that word conservative, it's not the same as like a Republican in the States. Like a conservative in Sweden would still be super to the left on most issues when you compare him to someone that's conservative. But let's say the Conservative Party are more conservative on immigration, maybe on spending some money, somewhat like the Republicans, but not exactly the same. It looks like right now, it looks like the liberal bloc got less of the vote. Now, when we look at the parties, the ruling power in charge, they've been in charge forever. The Social Democrats have, I think, been in charge of Sweden for like over 20 years. They got the most vote, but not their bloc. So I think they got around 30% of the vote. They actually got more of the vote this election than previously. And I believe it's because most people that would usually vote for the other left parties just voted for the current party in charge out of the threat of the Swedish Democrats and the conservative movement. They just thought, okay, let's just give our vote to them. This is important right now. On the conservative side, though, you have something very interesting happening because the conservative bloc is pretty much split. Yes, you have like four parties, but the issue here is that Moderaterna, who's always been the leader of the conservative party for years, since they always got the most vote, they came in second, and the Swedish Democrats actually got more of the vote, like 1% more of the vote. So now Moderaterna is no longer the big dogs on the block. And what's happening here in this situation, in my personal opinion, is very similar to what happened in the United States with Republicans and Trumpism. Because, Trump ran for office and then Trumpism took over, and it really caused a schism in the Republican Party because you have traditional Republicans, and now 50% of those in power are like MAGA Republicans, and they don't always go together well, and they're kind of infighting with each other. You go look at the conservative bloc, and you see that Moderaterna, like the last 4 years ago, they worked more with the Swedish Democrats, but they got taken over. And I feel like it's going to get to a point in 4 years where Moderaterna might need the Swedish Democrats more than the Swedish Democrats need Moderaterna right now. And it clearly says that people aren't satisfied with Moderaterna or they want more out of Moderaterna, which then raises the question, does the Moderaterna party go more to the far right? Do they get more conservative on things like immigration and other controversial topics? Or do they start to fight a little bit with the Swedish Democrats in that sense? And does that bring up infighting, which if they do that, is only going to cause issues for the conservative bloc overall? So I just feel like they're stuck between a rock and a hard place because they tried to work with the Swedish Democrats, but ultimately it looks like it didn't really do them any favors and only hurt them. Now, I guess you could say they might have won because it looks like Ulf, their leader of Moderaterna, might become the next prime minister, but we're going to have to wait and see because I see three scenarios happening here. Either the current prime minister, she resigns, or she stays in power and then she gets voted out by the government because she doesn't have at least over 50% of approval rating. Or four scenarios. Jimmy tries to become prime minister. He gets voted out because the leader of the Swedish Democrats is probably not going to be able to sit there and be prime minister. So that's why I see the other scenario, maybe Ulf taking over that role. And it'll be interesting to see him in that role. But as far as what's going to happen with this government, I don't see anything getting done anytime soon. I think that this is only going to add tension to the government. This is only going to make things more 50-50 split. You're either this or you're that, which I hated that about U.S. politics, really, that you're either on one side or the other. It feels like that's happened here in Sweden now more and more. I think that with the Swedish Democrats now being the largest party in the conservative bloc, I do think you're going to find that it'll make people a little bit more angry. It'll cause a little bit more tensions within the communities. And I just think that's going to happen. That was probably going to happen in this situation no matter what. It'll be interesting to see what happens, though, because like Trump got in power and then Trumpism took off and then we kind of got embarrassed of it after the last 4 years. And it kind of feels like that wave is going down, not over slowly. It's still strong. But I feel like over the next 10 to 15 years, you're not going to find anybody that ever wanted to vote for Trump or admit that they voted for Trump. And I think that we might be through a 10 to 20 year cycle with the Swedish Democrats, where either they're going to just become the main party and they will always be the main party in the conservative bloc, or they're going to start to lose their muster as they hold on to power. Maybe they get bad press. Maybe they make mistakes. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Now, I will say when Trump got in the office, I gave Trump a chance, and before I decided he was a madman. So I'll give the current government in charge, a chance, and we'll see what they do. But yeah, this government, in my opinion, ain't going to get nothing done. This is probably not going to be a good situation for Sweden for the next 4 years. And I'm not just saying that because of the second largest party. I just say in general, I just think it feels like everything's very polarized in Sweden right now. So I think it'll take some time before it feels like we're in a change here in Sweden, and we'll see where we go. We're either going to go more to the far right, or the next 4 elections we're going to move back to the left. We'll have to wait and see. But that's my analysis of this election. I'm not shocked by anything other than how bad Moderaterna did, because this was really their time to shine. They really missed the mark here. I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are about the election. What was your biggest surprise about this election? Please let me know, and I'll let you guys know in the comments below. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Hej då!